Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. In the heat of summer, many plants stop blooming, but the crepe myrtle is covered with flowers. Also, we're going to learn about the most common diseases of apple trees. That's just ahead of the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Joellen Dimond. Joellen is our local horticulturist, and Mr. D will be joining me later. All right, Joellen, we're going to talk about crepe myrtles.
Crepe myrtles,
Yeah,
yes.
one of my favorite plants.
It's a lot of people's favorite
love it,
plants.
yeah.
Very popular plant, and for good reason. Huge blooms on them, 6 to 8 inches by 3 to 5 inches. And it blooms from June, July, clear through September, and sometimes October. So a very long bloom time. And there are very few plants with that spectacular of flowering that last that long in the growing season. So that's why they're very popular. They also have what I would call an incredible size range. They grow from 18 inches tall, or actually 8 inches tall, clear up to over 30 feet. But one thing you need to do is your homework. There is a size that's for any garden, and we're going to talk about that. They're arranged in 4 different categories. First is what's called miniature. Miniature. That's 8 inches to 4 feet. And one called Baton Rouge is red, and it's about 3 feet tall. Houston is about 2 feet tall, bright watermelon. Pixie White is, of course, white. It's about 2.5 feet tall. Pocomoke, 2 feet tall to rosy pink. And New Orleans, and that's the one that's 8 inches tall and used as a ground cover. And it blooms a bright purple. So those are the miniature ones. Then it goes from miniature up to dwarf. And that's 5 feet to 12 feet. Okoma, that is a really popular white crepe myrtle. Only gets about 10 feet tall. Cato, 7 feet tall, bright pink, nice plant. Cherokee, an 8-foot red one. Tonto is a 10-foot magenta red one, very pretty. I have that one. And Hopi, which is about 8-foot pink. So those are the dwarf size. And probably the most that people should have, especially if they're putting them anywhere near around their house or in small yards. That's the size range that they should stay in. Then it goes up from there. We have what they call medium or intermediate sized crepe myrtles. And those are from 13 feet to 20 feet. So these are Dallas red, very popular one, 18 feet, red tree. Potomac, 15 foot, light pink. Catawba, which I have at my house, 18 feet and it's purple. Osage, 15 feet, light pink. Sioux, 15 feet, dark pink. And Seminole, these are all well named, 15 feet coral pink. Those are very popular. I mean, there's lots of them, but these are the ones that are the most popular. So that's what I mentioned.
Just scratching the surface.
That's just scratching the surface. Then you get into what everybody uses that they shouldn't because they get too tall for the area they put them. And that's the tall tree types that are 21 to 33 plus feet. Number one that's grown a lot, Natchez white.
That's what I have.
Gets over 21 feet tall and it gets up to 30.
It's beautiful, love it.
Sarah's favorite. Now that is a beautiful white crepe myrtle with cinnamon bark and nice pendulous branches, 25 feet. Tuscarora, one of the most popular reds, the dark watermelon red, 25 feet tall.
It's tall,
And Tuskegee, which is also 25 feet, and a kind of a more pinkish watermelon red. So those are the main categories. So every crepe myrtle out there can be categorized in one of these areas. And that's what you should research.
Right.
When you want to put a crepe myrtle in your yard, no, you want a 20-foot crepe myrtle, or you want only a 10 or 12-foot crepe myrtle. And you wouldn't have to do what we call crepe murder, which is cutting the huge trunks of the tree, and it really doesn't do the tree justice and all that. It's
right plant, right place, right?
Yeah, because there's a proper way to prune crepe myrtles.
Right.
And when they're the right size, you don't have to cut very much off of them. And that's how you cut them. You take the little small stuff off, the crossing branches, the little things, and you end up with a tree-shaped tree that looks just like a tree still, even though it's been pruned back.
Right.
And then it will bloom the next spring, the next summer, and it looks perfectly fine. And you just do that every year. I actually do every year or every 2 years, pruning mine down like that.
Okay. And something else I like about crepe myrtles, exfoliating bark.
Yes, it does. It's
So
beautiful.
summer bloom, but winter interest.
Not only is the bark interesting in the wintertime, but it also has good fall foliage. A lot of them do.
Yeah.
Now, they live in zones 7 through 9,
Okay.
and sometimes into 6.
Something. Okay.
And some of they are doing a lot of research trying to get them into colder climates. So zone 6 is becoming more of a reality for them. But you've got to understand, -5 to -10 degrees is about the limit between having something that's perennial and comes back like a tree to dying down to the ground.
Got it. Okay.
So -5 to -10. And that's what they're trying to work on, to get a more cold hardy.
So let me ask you about any major diseases or insect pests we need to know about with crepe myrtles?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, there are a few out there.
Yes. For number one for us in this area is crepe myrtle bark scale. And it's not been here for very long. It's blown up from the southern Texas area on up through the southeast. It hasn't even reached all of the southeast yet. So,
Sure hasn't, yes.
but it's bad. You have to treat it everywhere. It's usually a soil drench of systemic insecticide that the tree takes up in the spring. The best time to apply it is in the spring, as the tree comes out, and it'll protect it for. And sometimes you get up to 2 years of protection from one drench. And I have known people, and I have tried it myself. You put the horticulture dormant oils on it, and you make sure all the bark is loose bark is off, and you spray it with the dormant oils and do all of that, and it kind of controls it, but you got to keep at it. Whereas the drench just happens once.
Yeah.
And I have been able to get in my house. I've been able to get 2 years.
I have too.
Out of the drench. So I mean. But in a higher, like a traffic area at the university, sometimes you have islands in the middle of streets that got crepe myrtles. We have to treat those every year because the stress on the plants is so much that they need that extra help.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So since we're talking about the university, and I know y'all have a lot of plantings there at the university. So what about the different cultivars as it relates to crepe myrtle bark scale?
I've seen not a whole lot of difference.
Okay, not a whole lot different. Okay.
So yeah, I think there's actually studies out for that to see what varieties do best.
It'd be interesting to see what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but crepe myrtle bark scale, it's a problem.
Yeah, and then there's the sooty mold with that goes with that.
Right.
When
The fungus.
And the same thing. First thing you think of when it first started around here, thought, well, it has aphids because they do get aphids a lot.
Sure.
And so you spray the aphids and the sooty mold goes away. But this was something different, and it's that crepe myrtle bark scale. Yeah. But I'd say, pruning is also a good practice to help with the crepe myrtle bark scale because they like to be on the tips of the plants. And so if you prune it regularly every year and just take the tips off like you're supposed to, then you end up getting rid of a lot of it, and then you spray with the dormant oil. And I think that's probably why I've been able to get 2 years or so of the drenches, because I tip them, and I spray them with dormant oil, and then I.
That seems to work pretty good.
But they do come back. It's usually the fall of the next year.
Right, just got to be persistent.
Yeah.
Persistent.
Keep up with it.
Yeah, just keep up with it. But yeah, that's the major insect pest. The major fungal disease is going to be powdery mildew.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's usually because now crepe myrtle's like full sun. So a lot of times when it gets into a shady area and you're thinking there's other plants around it, it's not getting air circulation, and that's when you get the powdery mildew because the plant's stressed because it's not in full sun, it's thick, there's not good air circulation, and you get powdery mildew.
Powdery mildew, and some of those suckers,
Yeah, this sucker.
Yeah, have powdery mildew. Get rid of the suckers.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it a tree because sometimes it wants to be bushy. The smaller, the miniatures and the dwarfs tend to want to be a bush rather than a tree, so you have to prune it into a tree. So that's when you get a lot of problems. The tree forms are more open and less prone to getting a lot of the problems, with the diseases for that.
Right. Yeah. Full sun, good air circulation is what you mentioned. Yeah. That's what you.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, but those are what I consider like major, problems with the crepe myrtle.
But they're worth it.
But they're worth it.
Yes. Because they are so pretty.
They're worth it. So again, right plant, right place.
Right. Yes. There is a size crepe myrtle for everyone, for any garden.
Joe, that was good. That was good. I can see you like crepe myrtles a lot.
I do.
So do I. Thank you much.
We have a really beautiful planting of coneflower here. This is Artisan Soft Orange Coneflower. It is a cultivar that has been selected for this beautiful orange color and really compact growth. So this particular cultivar is seed grown. So we've got shades from vibrant bright orange to some that have a little bit of pink, and then kind of even into those yellow tones mixed in here. These coneflowers prefer full sun growing conditions. They are perennial. This particular cultivar has a really nice, tight, clumping growth habit. You can get some regrowth from reseeding, but it's not a rampant reseeder. It likes moist soil conditions, but well drained. We certainly don't want to put these in any type of area that has drainage issues, and they will thrive once established in droughty conditions. So, throw your worst at these guys and they will stand right up to them. If you want a really fun addition to add to your garden, this is Artisan Soft Orange Coneflower, or Echinacea, and great for pollinators and beautiful in the garden.
Hi, Mr. D. Let's talk about apple tree diseases. Where would you like to start with that?
I guess let's start with probably one of the most common problems that we have, and probably one of the earliest ones in the year. Is fire blight. Fire blight is a bacterial disease. It is common during cool, wet conditions, which we have a lot of springs that are that way. And the diagnostic, and I'm using a great publication from the University of Georgia. This is the it's a pictorial diagnostic guide to common home orchard diseases. And so it is, I want to give full credit to the University of Georgia. And I just have the apple diseases here, and fire blight, the symptom of it that you see is, it's called a shepherd's crook. You'll have a dieback from the ends of the branches due to a bacterial canker that's on that branch. And it may be 10, 12 inches, even longer. The leaves will turn black. There'll be a crook that will develop, and they'll hang on the tree. It'll just stay on the tree. It won't fall off. This disease, very common on pears and apples, and the way you control it, if you have a history of problems, some varieties are more susceptible than others, but if you have a history of problems, then you need to spray during bloom with, actually twice, early bloom and late bloom, with an antibiotic. This is not something that's in your regular cover sprays for apples. And it's Agristrep is one, streptomycin, Agristrep 17. There's several of them out there that are listed labeled for fire blight control. So that's the way you control that, but it's got to be taken care of before you see the problem.
Okay.
When you see the problem, there's no need to do anything. Just wait till next year and try to take care of it.
Okay. So do we need to prune out then?
You do need to prune out the dead tissue, later in the year. You need to dip your pruning shears in a solution of 1 part bleach to 9 parts water, and to keep from spreading that bacterial infection to healthy tissue. Okay. And but yes, you do need to prune that out and dispose of it. Don't put it in your compost bin. Right. You need to either burn it or get rid of it. Another very, very common problem that will show up later in the year is cedar apple rust. We have a lot of cedar trees around in our area. This disease spends part of its life cycle in a cedar tree. When it's in the cedar tree, the gall, it's kind of a purplish looking gall that will erupt into a beautiful University of Tennessee orange, UT orange structure that will release spores. And the spores will travel to an apple tree, and on the apple tree you have the bright UT orange spots on the leaf of the apple tree.
All right, so how do you treat it?
Well, there's a couple of ways. You can, if you cut down all the cedar trees within about a 10 or 15 mile radius, that will be one way to control it. You take out the host. But a more practical way to take care of it is to follow the home orchard spray guide and for apple trees. And you spray with a solution that contains captan and malathion every 10 to 14 days, 7 to 10 days, actually during the growing season, and that will prevent that from being a problem. Okay. Wow. Another problem, which is very common on apple trees, is sooty blotch and fly speck.
Yeah, I know that one.
When I grew up, I thought that all apples were supposed to have little spots on them, and this is this disease. Or diseases, it's kind of several fungal organisms that cause this. It's pretty much just on the skin of the apple. Okay. And you can peel it off. If you scrub it off, you can actually scrub that off, but it will reduce the shelf life of an apple. The home orchard regular cover sprays will take care of that. Okay. And that's again the home orchard sprays that contain malathion and captan. And the next disease I want to talk about is bitter rot. And it is concentric circles in a rotten spot on the fruit of an apple tree. It's caused by glomerella, and it has kind of concentric rings like a target, but sometimes instead of being circular, they're kind of V-shaped. And it actually sinks into the fruit, and it goes on into the fruit. But again, the home orchard, spray guide, following the regular cover sprays with a mixture of captan and malathion, 7 to 10 days during the growing season will take care of that. Okay.
Now, is that considered to be a fungus?
It is a fungal.
It is a fungus.
It is a fungal. Glomerella is the fungal organism. Another real common one is black rot. Wow. And this is kind of a brown, starts out as like a bruised area on the blossom end or the calyx end of the apple, and then it spreads and it also goes up into the fruit. It's Botryophyria. I can't say it today, Botryophyria. But it is a fungal organism, and it can be controlled by using regular cover sprays every 7 to 10 days with fungicide captan and then malathion as an insecticide. And I'm throwing the insecticide in there because if you're going to spray with a fungicide, you may as well control the insects while you're at it.
So with the black rot and the bitter rot, I mean, the fruit is still edible?
Yes, except it gets up in the fruit. You've got to cut it out. You've got to cut it out. Unlike the fly speck or the earlier ones that were just on the skin. This will go into the fruit, and it will cause the entire, it can ruin the entire fruit. And with most of these, the fruit will hang on the tree, like a mummy will hang on the tree, and sanitation is important. You need to pick those off and get rid of them. Again, don't put them in your compost bin. Put them in the Walmart bag, double bag them, get rid of them or something, and put them in the garbage. Apple scab is another very common disease, and it is present on the leaves. Sometimes it's called frog eye leaf spot. Oh, okay. But it has scabby lesions on the fruit, and it tends to be more on the skin. But it's a very common problem in apples, and it can be controlled again with a regular, cover spray every 7 to 10 days.
Wow.
And you know, if you get a rain and it washes it off, it's gone. You need to go back out there and do it again. It can be really hard during rainy conditions.
Sure.
But again, the cover sprays contain captan and malathion. White rot is, again, Botryopsphera. It's the same genus, but a different species. Okay. It causes, and it has depressed, soft, enlarged lesions on the fruit. And it really will wipe out your fruit pretty quick. But it's more of a late season problem in apples and pears, and it becomes soft really quick. Most of the other rots, the black rot is kind of hard at first, and it takes it a while to get soft. But serious disease, sanitation again is important. Remove the mummified apples that are hanging on the tree, but prevent it from occurring with by using a home orchard spray guide and regular cover sprays with a material that contains captan or malathion. Wow. And that's the main.
Those are the main ones.
Apple diseases that we see, and we see all of these in the Mid-South.
Yeah, do we have that here?
We see them all in the Mid-South. We sure do.
Wow. Yeah. Appreciate that good information, Mr. D. Very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're going to be looking at our carrots. These carrots have been in the ground for about 3 months. So let's check and see if this carrot is ready to be harvested. Okay. I'm going to move the soil back here. That one's not ready. Yeah, the crown is too small. I'd like for that crown to be at least ½ an inch big. Put the soil back over it like that, and we'll go to another one. This one may be ready to be harvested. That's a good sized crown there. So let's see if it's ready. We're going to pull it. So I'm going to harvest this by pulling it close to the ground as possible. I don't want to grab up here, right, because I don't want to destroy all of this foliage. All right, so let's dive in and see what we have. Uh-oh, look at that. Here it comes. This is a nice looking carrot. Clean this off, we'll be ready to eat this. And we were able to get this before Bugs Bunny did. How about that? All right, Joellen, here's our Q&A segment.
Very good.
You ready?
Yes.
All right, let's go. Here's our first viewer email. Will rat poison kill moles? This is Rosetta on YouTube.
No.
No.
No, rat poison's for rats. Yeah. Moles.
Right.
Moles actually eat earthworms and bugs and stuff, so they wouldn't go for that. Oh my goodness, no.
Right, yeah, rat poisons, yeah, mice, rats.
Right, yeah.
Right. The moles, as you mentioned. Insectivores, grubs,
yeah.
Spiders, centipedes, millipedes, earthworms, things like that, right? You know our recommendation?
Yes, I do.
The University of Tennessee Extension. Mole traps.
Yes,
yeah.
mole traps.
Mole traps.
You go out and you walk over the mounds, and if the next day you come back and they've gone through it, you know that's a major thoroughfare that they keep clear, and that's where you set your trap. But then you've got to look at it every morning. You set it in the evening, and you go look at it in the morning.
Yeah. You might have to move it around a few times,
you have to move it around.
You have to move it around a few times. But yeah, as far as using the rat poisons, no, Ms. Rosetta, yeah. So use the traps. You know, there are a lot of different home remedies that I've heard, and you've heard some of the ones, broken glass, juicy fruit bubble gum, you know, poison pellets and things like that. So I would just use the mole trap.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for the question. Here's our next via email. Can you please identify these 2 maple seedlings for me? They both have reddish stalks, but one has a more pointed leaf tip and the other more blunt, and the lobes seem slightly different. Also, the one on the left has reddish new leaves. Are these red maples or something else? Anita in Florida.
She's correct.
She's right.
Those are red maples, but you know, that's the nature of red maples. They're variable. The wild species are variable. Yeah. And who knows, there might be a cross, you know, some named variety somewhere, and it's cross-pollinated with a native one, and then they've got these seedlings. You just never know.
Right. But she's actually...
They're both of them are red maples.
Yeah. Red maples. And enjoy them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful colors, you know,
they
those
are.
red maples for sure. All right, Miss Anita, thank you for the picture.
Yeah, nice
definitely
picture.
Thank you for the question. We appreciate that. Here's our next via email. How do I treat fungus on crepe myrtle? This is Hope in Queens, New York.
Yeah, see, that's again, it's the range. It's in a not its normal range. It's kind of outside its range or close to being outside its range. So it's going to be a little bit more stressed.
Right.
And she's just going to have to spray it with like something like Daconil to get rid of the fungus.
Right. What kind of fungus you think it is? I thought powdery mildew.
I was thinking it's either powdery mildew or it could be she had aphids on it.
It could be aphids, right.
And so it's sooty mold.
Right.
It's one of those
two. So it's either sooty mold or powdery mildew.
Right.
If it's sooty mold, I'm definitely thinking it's from the aphids because the crepe myrtle bark scale hadn't gotten there yet.
No, there's no crepe myrtle bark
It's
scale
out of
there.
the range. Right. So it'll probably be aphids. There's an aphid species for every plant species
There
that's out
is.
there.
There
It
is.
seems like. So it's probably sooty mold. If it's sooty mold, you have to control the aphids.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
Mother Nature take care of the sooty mold for you.
Yeah.
Right. If it's the powdery mildew, then what?
Then that's
Daconil.
when you do the Daconil.
Right.
And you can use it for you can treat the sooty mold with the Daconil too, but it's not going to help that the aphids are still there.
Right. So yeah, maybe stressed.
Maybe stressed, a little bit
like
stressed.
you mentioned, maybe stressed. But yeah, if it's powdery mildew.
So I would
using
give it a
fungicide
little
would help.
fertilizer in the spring, when the beginning of the growing season, and help it out a little bit.
Help it out a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we appreciate that question, Hope. It'd been nice to see,
Oh, a picture would have been great.
Yeah, just a picture. Yeah, just to kind of see. But yeah, we definitely think it's either sooty mold or powdery mildew.
Yeah, it's one of those
the
two.
other. Right. All right. So we thank you for that question, Hope. Appreciate that. All right, Joellen, that was fun.
Yes, it was.
Thank you again. Appreciate that.
No problem.
Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is questions@familyplotgarden.com. And the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee, 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching. If you want more information on crepe myrtles or apple trees, just head on over to familyplotgarden.com. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.